If you're planning a move to the Boise area, sooner or later you're going to hit a fork in the road. Almost everybody does. Boise or Meridian. And here's the funny part. Most people start out assuming Boise is the obvious pick because that's a name that they're most familiar with. Then they take a closer look. Or if they're in town, they tour the area and the choice isn't so obvious. These two cities are about 15 minutes apart, but living in them can feel like two completely different lives. So today I'm putting them head to head, the real differences, the stuff that actually matters day to day, and I promise to keep it honest, including the part nobody shares in the brochures. A quick hello if we haven't met. I'm Rebecca Loewer, a real estate agent here in the Treasure Valley. Not only do I bring 10 plus years of real estate experience to the table, but I've personally experienced making this exact decision to relocate here to Idaho. I'll give you the straight version on both because the right answer isn't about me. It's about whatever fits the life you're trying to build. I've sat on both sides of this kind of choice myself, so I get how personal it is. Let's start with what you feel before you've even seen the first listing. The vibe. Boise is the energy. It's got a vibrant downtown and 8 surrounding areas, each with its own flair. And by the way, if you want a breakdown of each area, check out this video here where I break down all 8 areas within Boise, including downtown. Because let's face it, most people immediately think downtown Boise. The restaurants like the Fork and the Wilder, 2 of my favorites, and breweries like Payette Brewery, located right near the Greenbelt. There's Boise State University and great events like the Farmers Market or First Thursdays, a monthly art and music night. You have walkability and, like I said, the Greenbelt along the Boise River. It's the kind of place where you go and grab a coffee and probably run into people you know. If you want to feel like you're in the middle of things, Boise has that pulse. Meridian is a completely different speed entirely. It's suburban, it's family-centered, it's planned communities, parks, and quiet streets. You've got the village at the Meridian for dinner and movie nights. Kleiner Park is a great spot to walk the dogs, one of our favorites, or for the kids to enjoy the splash pad. Head on over to another great family spot like Roaring Springs and make a full day of it. You've got the rhythm of daily life, which is much calmer here. More cul-de-sac than coffee shop. And I tell people like this, Boise is where you go to be a part of the buzz, and Meridian is where you come home and actually exhale. Neither one is better, they're just different speeds, and you usually know in your gut which one fits for you. Now the part everyone really wants to know, cost of housing. And here's the myth I have to constantly bust. People assume that Meridian is way cheaper than Boise, and it's not. The median prices are honestly closer than you'd expect, often only a modest gap between the two. The average sold home in Boise is around $654,000, and the average sold home in Meridian is $588,000. And this was in May of 2026. So the real question isn't what's cheaper, it's what money buys. And in Boise, especially close to downtown or in the popular areas, you're often paying for location and character. And that frequently means an older home on a smaller lot. For example, in Hyde Park, an average home sold in May of 2026 was high 500,000s, approximately 2,000 square feet, and built in the early 1900s. In Meridian, that same budget tends to stretch into something newer, bigger, and more yard, even with a garage. 3,000 square feet living spaces in a home most likely less than 10 years old. Same dollars, 2 very different houses. And that's the whole game. Quick breather before we get into the rest. If this is helping you sort things out, do me a small favor and tap the like button. It honestly just helps more people who are moving here find this video. And if you know someone wrestling with this exact Boise versus Meridian question, send it their way so the information can help them decide too. Then hit subscribe so you get notified each week I drop a new video. Next week, I'll be discussing Meridian versus Eagle, going head to head on the differences there. All right, let's get back to it. This one's a real tiebreaker for a lot of people, so pay attention here. If new construction is high on your list, South Meridian is kind of the heart of it. It's full of newer planned communities like the Keep, Inspirato, and the Oaks, featuring builders like Highland Homes, Pacific Lifestyle Homes, and Toll Brothers, and neighborhoods that come with amenities baked in. Community pools, parks, clubhouses, walking paths. You can move into something brand new with everything already there. Boise has new construction too, but a lot less of it, and it's more concentrated in pockets like Harris Ranch area. Most of Boise is established neighborhoods with mature trees and history. So it comes down to this. Do you want shiny and new with the HOA pool down the street? Or do you want the big old tree in your front yard that took like 50 years to grow? Both are great answers. They're just not the same answer. If you've got kids, this might be the most important 2 minutes of the video. Both cities are strong on schools, so this isn't good versus bad. Meridian is served by the West Ada School District, the largest in the state. Several of its high schools land in Idaho's top 25. Rocky Mountain High here in Meridian is a standout. Half its students test proficient in math against a state average of 41%. 2/3 in reading against 55, and it graduates 91% of its students compared to the state's 80. Boise holds its own right alongside it. The Boise School District has 5 high schools that earned national best high school recognition, and Timberline ranks 7th in the state, even a few spots above some of the Meridian schools on certain lists. So the honest takeaway is that you really can't go wrong on schools in either city. What it comes down to is the specific school your address feeds into, because both districts have strong schools and average ones. So once you've narrowed down a neighborhood, that's the moment to look up its exact schools. And that's something that I'm always happy to discuss or provide you more information. Let's talk about getting around town, because this is where I see people underestimate things. The good news for Meridian is that you're only about 15 to 25 minutes from downtown Boise. So you can absolutely live the suburban life and still tap into everything Boise offers. The catch? Eagle Road. If you spent any time out here, you already felt that sentence in your bones. Eagle at rush hour in the Treasure Valley's most famous headache. And it's honestly a downside of Meridian life. Boise has its own version of this, of course. Downtown traffic, parking during peak hours are no picnic either, especially as the city keeps growing. But my honest take, whichever you pick, drive your would-be commute at 5 o'clock on a weekday before you fall in love with a house. Trust me on that one. And look, we're a growing city, and with that, infrastructure takes time to catch up for the growth. I can tell you, growing up in Maryland with the 95 corridor and then having spent 3 years in California, traffic here doesn't even compare in a good way. At least that's my opinion. So here's what I want you to take away from all this. Boise versus Meridian isn't a question of which city is better. It's a question of which life fits you. Urban energy and character, suburban space and calm, the buzz or the exhale. Get clear on that first before you ever fall in love with a house online, and the whole decision gets so much simpler. And if you're sitting there thinking, okay, but what about Eagle or Star or the smaller towns out west? Good, because that's exactly where this series is headed. Meridian versus Eagle is up next. But if you want a head start, I put together a free Treasure Valley relocation guide that talks about the top 10 cities here in the Treasure Valley, and it's linked right below this video. If you're getting close enough and want to have a conversation with someone who's actually made this move herself, you can book a call with me as well. No pressure, no sales pitch, just a real conversation about what fits you. And with that, I'll see you on the next one.